Hello, I am the Irish guy, and this is not a drill. Mourinho is single. Jose Mourinho is single. Mourinho is now unattached and out of work. I feel dizzy. I feel lightheaded. I feel like James Corden once he sees the ice cream van pull up on his street. Jose Mourinho has no job, whilst the Republic of Ireland have no manager. I mean, put 2 and 2 together. I'm not sure I failed maths at school, but right now I'm sweating through my legs. I feel dizzier than the Bill Cosby date. As the prophet Tiny Temple once said,
it's written in the stars.
Any day now, the announcement is going to be made, and we are going to have pig farmers from Sligo and Leitrim toasting a hearty Guinness to our new football king. I'm just waiting for the photo of Mourinho being unveiled in Dublin, holding an Irish scarf, as Conor McGregor annoyingly photo bombs to try and steal some attention on Instagram. Newcastle fans for years have talked about Mourinho following in the footsteps of Sir Bobby Robson, his former mentor. And look at this photograph. Yeah, we had Sir Bobby Robson as an assistant for a year, essentially just potty training a rookie coach who would grow up to miserably fail at Dartington. This would be Mourinho's spiritual, ancestral journey, following King Bob into the Ireland job, right? Hearing Josie in his first press conference, trying to integrate himself into the culture by saying,
Adel Cadogan Dudley Levers Moshi the Holly.
Yeah, I'm guessing he gets pranked by the translator. No, we're probably just gonna wind up with Steve Bruce, and I'm gonna squeal like a pig with kidney stones. Here's the thing though. This is a disgrace. Jose Mourinho is somebody who probably grew up singing along to Taylor Swift on the side of a Kazakhstan mountain, right? Because he is a goat. This guy is the Batman of football coaches. And yet Roma think they can sack him. Roma! These decisions are spoiling this man's CV. They say it is a rite of passage to get binned off as a football manager, right? Well, I don't know. Pep Guardiola's never been sacked and probably never will. Sir Alex Ferguson survived 40 years in this business and was only ever sacked once by St. Mirren in 1978. I'd imagine that's a bit embarrassing for that club chairman now. It's a bit like a grown woman admitting that when she was 13, she once turned down a cinema date with Elon Musk. Yeah, I bet she regrets that now, while she's having to sell her armpit hair on the internet to pay rent. But Mourinho has been disrespectfully sacked 5 times. It's ruining his Wikipedia page. This is almost like a crime to the sport. It's like if I broke into a museum and was allowed to repeatedly chuck my own poo at the Mona Lisa 5 times. Lads, that is 3 times now in just a little over 5 years that he has been chucked away. Like a pair of shoes that somebody vomited on whilst you were sitting on a packed train. Mourinho has been carelessly, casually discarded, as if you just found rat poo in your Cocoa Pops box. This is not how you treat a supreme lord of the sport. Who do Roma think they are? What are they playing at? This is like putting Ned Stark's head on a stick. Do they think they have a divine right to this caliber of monster coach? Because I promise you, they do not. I have not forgotten that 5 years ago, you were giving a contract to Claudio Ranieri. Yes, a lovable granddad who looks like he belongs in some Italian sitcom, but he just been dumped by Leicester and nonce. I mean, whatever about getting sacked by a Leicester. Do you really want somebody who's been kicked out by a nonce? As if he's one of the ugly kids who Michael Jackson didn't want? Roma were lucky to have Mourinho at the wheel. This is a man who rejected opportunities to leave Roma for the Portugal job, and PSG were sniffing around him for about the 7th time. Honestly, those Qatari owners just won't leave Jose alone. I'm half convinced Nasser Khelafi has a jar of Mourinho's mustache hair in a creepy drawer beside his bed. Lads, Real Madrid's romance with Carlo Ancelotti is a beautiful thing, but make no mistake about it, 2.5 years ago, they ranked Jose first. The only reason they decided to drag Carlo out of Everton in some sort of rescue mission was because Jose turned them down, as he'd already agreed to join Roma. To be fair, it wouldn't be the first time they decided to appoint a man after the Tottenham sack. Remember when they really hired Juande Ramos in 2008? But lads, Mourinho is a man who is shown loyalty to Roma. Do you know what that means? It's like getting Russell Brand not to cheat. Jose is a man who in a short time as Roma boss has led them to 2 European finals, winning 1. Look, okay, Jose has been sent off 8 times as Roma boss. It's passion. He's been suspended more times than that school delinquent. You know, that bully who keeps being on the verge of expulsion after sneaking dead frogs into the teacher's purse at lunch? Well, but the results aren't that bad. They're 9th in the league, yeah. Doesn't look brilliant, but they're only 5 points off 4th. It was only a month ago they were comfortably beating Napoli at home. You know, the team who squeaked their way to 90 points last year? This scares me. It really does, because being sacked by Roma is terrifying. It never leads anywhere good. I mean, look at the last 8 managers to have left Roma. See where they coach. How they coach. If they coach. Lads, those guys, they now coach Lille, Cagliari, Frosinone, Italy. One of them just got sacked by Empoli last week. Pescara, okay, PSG, to be fair, is one. But then Turkey. Where does Jose go from here? For months, we've listened to Mourinho in interviews, stating that he's happy at Roma and will inform them if he plans to quit. The fact that they've now taken this decision out of his hands, is this some sort of sick power play? Is this just the footballing world repeatedly trying to prove some sort of powerful masculinity by being able to say that they were the ones who sacked the special one? I'm convinced that is the only reason Levy sacked Jose just days before a cup final with Pep. I'd imagine it's a bit like some insecure celebrity fat bloke like Jonah Hill, somebody who was probably bullied at school. I mean, he's probably now just dumping a string of supermodels every 6 months just so he can say he can. He's probably even got a bot account sending them Instagram messages calling them fat. That is what the footballing world is doing to Jose right now. This is the guy who just sacked Jose Mourinho. Someone who looks like a boring middle-aged suburban dad who gets embarrassed taking his shirt off in front of his wife. This is the guy that gets Jose the boot. You know what the biggest disgrace about this is? Who the club are replacing Jose with? That almost disgusts me more than anything. Whenever he gets the chop at a club now, he has always done the absolute disservice of being immediately replaced with a chump, some ogreish, revolting, underqualified lump of pig vomit. I mean, when he left Chelsea the first time, you know, it took his job. Avram Grant, someone who looks like a science experiment gone wrong, who would grow up to finish bottom of the Premier League twice. Yeah, I mean, he's now a Zambia manager and would probably need to eat a pigeon on TV to get back in the news. At Manchester United, Jose gets sacked and gets replaced by a failed Cardiff coach, who the club had to buy out of his contract at mold, replacing Mourinho with Solskjaer. It's like Disney firing Johnny Depp, and then for the next Pirates film, the role of Captain Jack is to be played by Michael McIntyre. Excuse me while sick dribbles out my nose. At Tottenham, he gets sacked days before a cup final and gets replaced by a lost child. Ryan Mason, an ex-Hull City midfielder who was then in his 20s and probably had crippling migraines every time he jogged to his car. A few months later, yeah, the club reached for a permanent boss. Yeah, replacing the great Jose Mourinho with his former backup goalie at Porto, someone who'd just been let go at Molineux. And if you're going to replace Mourinho with someone who'd just been released by Wolves, you might as well have chucked Mowgli into the hot seat. It would have been just as embarrassing. But now, do you know a glorious, meticulous plan Roma have up their sleeve? The Grandmaster plan? They are replacing Mourinho with Daniel De Rossi. But yeah, okay, he's a Roma legend after playing for them over 600 times, before then ruining his one club legacy by squeezing in 5 games for Boca Juniors in Argentina, before immediately quitting because he realized it was too hot. The guy was just months away from following in the footsteps of Francesco Totti and completing a one club legacy at Rome, before spoiling it with a weird move to South America. It would be like a devoted, loyal father of 5 who has been diligently married to his childhood sweetheart since the age of 19. They're now both on their deathbed, weeks away from passing on together, and he instead decides to kiss one of the fat nurses who brings him his food. Seeing him in a Boca shirt looked wrong. A bit like, yeah, seeing your lovely sweet granddad squeezing out a poo in the sink. This is a man who tried to forge a romantic career, but there's no bigger clue that he failed than the fact that last year he was sacked on Valentine's Day. Yeah, I mean, while most football coaches were, I don't know, sitting at home being forced to watch Magic Mike with their wife, he was probably crying in the bath. This is such a brainless appointment. The guy has already tried his hand at management. In October 2022, he was appointed boss of Spal in Serie B. He was sacked after 17 games, having won only 3 matches, and with the club 18th in the league and hurtling towards relegation to Serie C, which is probably a division filled with semi-pro plumbers who can barely afford an Uber to work. Jose Mourinho is a man who once went 9 years without losing a single match at home. You are replacing him with a coach who's only won a home match once as manager. Once! One home win to his name! Is this a joke? Roma are bidding off a serial champion to hire a legend as a player who in his only management job to date contributed towards an embarrassing relegation. Do you know how insane that is? It would be like Tottenham sacking Antonio Conte last year, yeah, and then giving Alan Shearer the job. I mean, what? De Rossi is toxic, but that shouldn't be a shock. She's married to Ellen DeGeneres. Yeah, I googled De Rossi and controversy, and the internet just gave me a bunch of articles about Hollywood cancelling Ellen's wife. I don't care. But lads, will the humiliation never cease? I might be able to twist my head around this decision if it meant Roma were hiring a manager somewhere close to Jose's level. Again, like a Conte. Sure, he's free, single, and ready to mingle. And he and Jose have a lot of overlapping clubs. So do Rafa Benitez and Carlo Ancelotti too. You'd swear those 4 managers of the same agent or something, because they always seem to get a lot of the same jobs. Of those 4 guys, all 4 of them have managed Chelsea, 3 have coached Inter Milan, 3 have coached Real Madrid, 2 have coached Napoli, 2 have coached Juventus, 2 have coached Everton, and 2 have coached Tottenham. Would not be shocked to find out that they're all in the same WhatsApp group, but no, it's none of those dignified champions. It's instead some rookie risk. Roma are just trying to be like AC Milan during their chaos years, when they had appointed popular ex-players who had very little experience, like Leonardo, Clarence Seedorf, Filippo Inzaghi, and Gennaro Gattuso. Make no mistake about it, if he had finished his career at the San Siro, they'd have appointed Pirlo too, It didn't work. None of it worked. Roma are chucking themselves into a bonfire of chaos. De Rossi is not the answer. And it's a disgrace that he's replacing Jose. But where does he go next? He's currently the favorite for the Newcastle job. For Newcastle fans, see Mourinho available now. Oh, it's tempting. Oh, it's so tempting. Trying not to want him as coach now. You probably feel like Ron Weasley, desperately trying not to stare at Hermione in the shower. Doesn't he just look like some ginger creep? Well, I mean, it's been like when he's old and grey. And Leonardo DiCaprio trying to convince himself to stay with his wife. I mean, you've got Eddie. Stick with Eddie. You don't need to look anywhere else, and I say that through gritted teeth. To me, the glaring prem option right now is not Newcastle. I don't think they'll sack Howe. I think there's two other clubs who'll be having very twitchy fingers right now. I just know the West Ham are gonna chance their arm. We know that David Sullivan has always wanted a big name, star celebrity coach to go with a stonking huge ground, but it would depress me. Mourinho replacing Moyes, this time without sandwiching a Van Gaal spell in between. Seeing the great Josie at West Ham, it would be like seeing Will Smith on a date with 49-year-old Maggie who works the night shifts at McDonald's. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air having to stomach a conversation with someone who probably smells of dirty nappies. Mourinho is a man who once sneered at West Ham for playing 19th century football under Big Sam, so seeing him having to crawl there and beg for a job, oh, it would be sad to me. But the other club is Wolves. I mean, does Jorge Mendes still have a big role at Molineux? You know, Jose's agent? Wolves are a club who hired an ex-Real Madrid boss in Julian Lopetegui only last season, so they do want a star name in charge. Right now, they've got an oafish little gremlin in Gary O'Neill, so bringing in the best Portuguese manager to ever live into an environment that's been wrapped up in Portuguese culture for years. That makes sense to me too, but again, see Mourinho at little old Wolves, it makes sense on paper, but it's also beneath him as a coach. But right then, okay, next in the odds list, it's the Saudi Pro League teams, the Portugal national team, and then any MLS side. Really? Is this really where we are at? That the fourth most likely destination for Jose is America. This is a man who should only be setting foot in that nation on holiday. If you are an MLS chairman, do not dare waste his time by sending him a hopeful email. It would be like someone asking Jay-Z if he'd like a gig putting pints in Witherspoons. Asking Mourinho to compete in a league where Dean Smith is now seen as a celebrity. The day I see the great Jose Mourinho coming face to face with Phil Neville in a dugout. Now, it'd be like seeing the great Al Pacino doing a cameo on Mrs. Brown's Boys. You know what's strange? There's 5 English managers in the MLS. 3 of them made their name in women's football, a fact that would probably cause Joey Barton to vomit in his porridge. I mean, he's someone who probably spends his morning just burning DVDs of Bennett like Beckham. His 5th most likely destination is back to FC Porto, which wouldn't be a terrible job. They're still a Champions League club. He'd be worshipped as a king. I would imagine there's no set of football fans in the world who are more grateful to Jose than the Porto ones. He could probably get them relegated, wipe his bum with the flag, and accidentally headbutt the Portuguese queen, and they'd still sing his name. There's no Queen of Portugal, is there? This is where things get proper depressing, though. His 6th option down the list is Crystal Palace. Steve Parish should be so lucky. Yeah, okay, on paper, he would essentially be replacing an ex-Inter Milan boss with an ex-Inter Milan boss. But that is where the similarities stop. Don't you dare ask Jose if he'd like to replace the old, wrinkled newspaper of a coach. Plus, why do I get the feeling that within a month of taking the job, he'd somehow be making Michael Elise cry for not tracking back? The 7th favorite in the list is the opportunity to go back to Benfica, which he already ejected 5 years ago, almost to the day. And then the next favorite, the England national team. Do it. This is a man who at the height of his fame and bargaining power was hours away from taking the England job after the Chelsea sack in 2007. He chose not to, instead of choosing to go and win the treble in Italy instead. But he was their big superstar choice before they got Capello. Jose only turned it down because his wife told him that he would be bored. Well, he's 60 years of age now. Most retired 60-year-olds are bored out of their tree, watching Coronation Street, filling out crossword puzzles with the dog, and desperately trying to find common ground with their grandkids by chatting about KSY and Wogan Paul. Do it. After Euro 2024, forget about,
Oh, the English boss has to be English.
It's such a backwards way to think that an England manager has to be someone who grew up watching Only Fools and Horses with their dad. Someone who has a terrible British diet, awful teeth, and skin pastier than a snowman's chest. Go get Mourinho. He's an absolute born winner, a leader, a champion. And you know what? I'm sick of club football disrespecting him like this, with stupid sacks every couple of years. I am sick of reading that Jose has once again been ungratefully given the boot by a bunch of power-hungry mongrels who want to feel bigger dinner parties. Mourinho should follow in the footsteps of Robson, but not the Newcastle, as tempting as it is. No, he should be taking the England job. Forget about all the rumors of Jose being finished. If he lifts England's first World Cup in '66 on American soil in 2026, the guy would have extinguished those 9 years of being a supposed failure on Twitter and once again be rightly held up as the special one. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? Where should Jose go next? Let me know if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to give a like, as always. I'll talk to you in a while.